policies. Green public representatives in the general election in 2007 were elected supporting strong activist and community campaigns. For example, the anti-incineration, waste incineration campaign in John Gormley's own constituency, the campaign against building a motorway through the historic Tara Valley, the campaign against US military rendition flights stopping at Shannon Airport, and the Greens' highly visible support for the local community in their fight to relocate a gas pipeline by the multinational Shell Oil Company in County Mayo, that's the Shell to Sea campaign. The Roscoe Fire probably are aware of that. To be seen to go into government without achieving significant concessions on a number of these policy issues immediately alienated the party from a core constituency who had voted or transferred very high preferences to it. So immediately that happened. Before entering the government, the Greens built a highly visible public profile in defence of Ireland's neutrality, in condemnation of the international arms trade, with the party being clearly defined in the electorate's mind as a critical but valued voice in the debate over an ever-evolving EU defence policy. This is a common EU defence policy. 1 year into government, the startling U-turn by key party elected officials on defence and foreign policy shocked its core voters. So there's a number of hits being made to people who actually had trust and faith and voted in Greens. Greens in Ireland managed to get elected through significant transfers, and I understand you all are aware of the PRS-TV system. Greens in Ireland managed to get elected through significant transfers from across the political divide, but most importantly from alternative and left-wing voters. No Greens have ever been elected on centre-right Fianna Fáil transfers. And not only do Greens in Ireland not get elected from Fianna Fáil voters, at the last general election the TDs were elected by voters who expected the Greens to form an alternative government with Fine Gael and the Labour Party. A key feature in gaining these important Fine Gael and Labour transfers from across the political spectrum in 2007 was a strong message contained in John Gormley's now infamous Planet Bertie speech, where he told us all sitting in the room, and this may be the one you were at, Romain, I'm not quite sure. John told us all, it's a strange place, Planet Bertie. He's referring to the then Prime Minister Bertie Ahern. So strange and so alien to our sensibilities that it's a planet that we Greens would like to avoid. For let there be no doubt, we want Fianna Fáil and the PDs out of government. Voter support was also gained through the then Green Party leader Trevor Sargent's emphatic message through the media that he would not go into government with Fianna Fáil. Subsequently, Trevor Sargent not only went into government with Fianna Fáil, but signed the deal before stepping down as leader. To form a government with former Fianna Fáil Taoiseach Bertie Ahern, who was waiting to appear before a tribunal of inquiry into possible payments to politicians, was seen to be yet another betrayal of the voters' trust in the Green Party. Green Party achievements in government, as outlined repeatedly for the media and anxious party members, are mainly in the area of planning reform, waste policy and creating jobs in the green energy sector. Now, this is all very welcome news. However, the reality is many of the key drivers for these policy initiatives are coming from Brussels and would have to happen anyway, with or without the Greens in government. My thesis is that the party has traded its strong opposition role for a weak policy platform in government, supporting health and education cuts that particularly target the disadvantaged. And as the Irish economy nosedives, it's now facing one of its most crucial votes in the Irish Parliament on a government support plan for banks called NAMA for short, the National Asset Management Agency. This is a massive taxpayer-funded scheme for overzealous and greedy bankers and property developers who were supported and encouraged by the incumbent Fianna Fáil government during the Celtic Tiger property boom years. Will this be the legacy of the Irish Greens in government, to be seen to support policy that protects and sustains the very system that was broken to begin with, and which the party was so vocally opposed to in opposition, and which John Gormley brilliantly described and satirised in his Planet Earth speech. To illustrate another political fact of life, and one which is often difficult for small parties to grasp and cope with, ministers represent the government and the Irish state, not their party. And what must be remembered is the Green Party TDs would not have been appointed to Cabinet if the senior and larger government party believed that they would be a liability in that Cabinet. John Gormley is the Irish State's Minister for Environment, Heritage and Local Government. He is not Green Party property. The political reality facing small coalition partners in government is that the Minister's first duty is to support Cabinet decisions which are made collectively, otherwise they will not be ministers. Apply this logic to the position of the Irish Greens in government and you get the reality facing the membership. The membership is also influenced by carefully stage-managed messaging, controlled by highly paid, highly qualified spin doctors and government advisors. These advisors' first duty is for the ministers and government, not to the Green Party. The Greens currently hold the balance of power in Ireland, but can they use that trump card? I believe that Fianna Fáil know that the Greens will not pull out of government, as the Green TDs would have to face the voters and almost certain electoral annihilation. So instead of being in a very strong position, Green ministers, TDs and senators are actually in a very weak position. Much has been made of the Green Party's democratic structure and that the membership are going to have their say vote on the party's position on NAMA and on a renegotiated programme for government in October. The debates will be intense and very interesting, as you can all imagine. But will the membership vote to withdraw from government if they are not happy with the proposals put in front of them? I don't think so. And that is ultimately the question that John Gormley will be putting to his party in October. The bottom line will be vote for our continued participation in government or cause a general election. The members are in an appalling position.